Hey, welcome back to another video feature of the Immersive Worlds Handbook. Today I'm in London, and behind me is Boxpark, which is a pretty innovative mall that I wanted to focus on today in this video feature. So let's begin the tour now. Okay, as we begin the tour of Boxpark here in London, this is the website. So if you go to their website, they certainly talk about the concept here. And it opened up in 2011, the idea of Roger Wade. And I'll mention in a bit that there's a second one that's also in existence in Croydon. This is back in Shoreditch. So this is an area near the hotel I stayed at, Citizen M, East London, very trendy. A lot happening in this area. If you know Dennis Seaver's house, a very famous place I've focused on in terms of immersion. It's also in this region, as is Brick Lane, very famous for curry houses and food and so forth. This shows you exactly where Boxpark is, and if you go to Old Spitalfields Market, a much different type of shopping venue, but certainly also I think trendy and hip. But this image here is from the Boxpark that opened in Croydon, and I guess they have a few others planned that may also expand to other countries. And one of the things that you'll, I think, realize if you visit Boxpark or if you take a look at their promotional information online is that it really is a concept mall. I called this video the anti-mall because Roger Wade actually mentioned in a video interview I watched that Boxpark as a concept is an anti-mall. It's not trying to be like a mall. And so I think we'll talk about that in this video and see if we agree with the creator's intention. I think it definitely doesn't feel like your typical mall. Showing you just some of the interior shots here. So the stores you'll see on the street level, and as you go upstairs there are bars and falafel stands and really casual type of dining, which is a deliberate move in terms of the folks who created this space. I'm showing you some of the area. Back on the right is Citizen M. This is a shot from Citizen M. Again, please check out my video on this very trendy hotel just near Boxpark. But I'm showing you these images because I think really this part of London has a lot of subcultural aesthetic intent, if you will. Just down the street there's Whitechapel Gallery, so I think it fits in very nicely with some of the mood and the lifestyle of this part of London. This is back upstairs in the food venue, and it's a exhibition that's showing some photography that is I guess important to this area. And what I was mentioning earlier about this area is you're seeing these this walkway that connects many of the dining venues. There's also a dining place or two on the bottom floor, but this area between, as we're kind of zooming in here, has a lot of bars and a lot of casual food opportunities. And the folks who created Boxpark wanted it to be affordable, and I think it's part of a lifestyle move in terms of thinking about marketing and their demographics in terms of their folks who might visit. Now there's some comparisons to be made here. I'll take you through three other malls that I think really owe something to this sort of trend of unconventional anti-malls. So the first one is Bikini Berlin, which is a little different. It's in an interior space, but the same concept, these very small stores as you see at Boxpark. Another one is, of course, Container Park, and this is in Las Vegas in the up-and-coming East Arts District just near Fremont Street. And this is another example, I think, of using not just containers, but also trying to associate a boutique or lifestyle approach in terms of connecting to the architecture, which is something I'll talk about in my on-site video in just a bit here. And this is the Grand Bazaar shops at Bally's. Totally different context in terms of entertainment, but if you see the types of shops here, same concept, small, lifestyle oriented, very boutique in nature. You're getting another shot here at the upstairs, and you see some of the very small food opportunities that are there for guests. But I think this is very key, right? I'll mention this in my on-site video, but if you want to essentially have a lifestyle type mall like this or an anti-mall, why not populate it with stores that aren't typical? So not your typical brands, but maybe an artisan who is creating some unique clothing or fashion opportunities, and then guests, of course, can purchase them in such an innovative place like Boxpark Mall. Let me now jump to some of my commentary that I recorded during my visit to Boxpark here in 2018. Alright, so we're just taking a tour here. I'll do some additional commentary and post-production, but you know, one of the things I wanted to comment on was just how different this mall is compared to traditional malls. So I think in this video the two malls that I'll draw a comparison with Boxpark would be Bikini Berlin in Berlin, of course, and then the second one is the Container Mall in Las Vegas. And one of the things I just wanted to point out is there are some characteristics that these malls share in common. So one, I think, is a focus on lifestyle demographics, and that's reflected in the quote pop-up nature of the offerings, as maybe you can see here with some of the shops. And then the second thing is the design itself, I think, allows you know, the architecture, you know, to stand out a little bit, such that it also kind of connects back with the demographics or the lifestyle trends. Another thing, of course, is the fact that there is an inherent focus on, let's not even say non-traditional brands. Really, in a pop-up, you often have someone who is doing something that is unique or eclectic, and I think we see that in some of the offerings here, and they don't reflect necessarily like the traditional brands that we see in other malls. So by the very nature, and in fact you even see here an example of a store that's just called Pop-Up of all things. So, you know, really by the very nature of focusing on not your typical anchor stores and typical branded offerings, it gives something entirely different to the person who's maybe interested in some of the offerings here or the lifestyle feelings and so forth. I'll talk a little more about this in post-production, but one of the things that's a little challenging here compared to Bikini Berlin or the Container Store is the lack of clear berm. On the one hand, you get the traffic coming in, and that's really good for business. But on the other hand, you know, it maybe is a little challenging for customers, for guests to come in and out of the stores just because of the inherent vibrancy of this part of London. So something to think about, and we'll talk some more about this in a bit. So I think what I was trying to suggest in that on-site video at Boxpark was to suggest that it is important to think about the combination of the various elements we note here. So the innovative design as we look at some of the mini stores here, the architecture, the fact that it defies convention in terms of what a traditional mall looks like, the fact that we have the types of goods and services here that are more boutique-oriented, lifestyle-oriented. Because they're very small spaces, it's incredibly economical for vendors to rent a space, and thus because you're getting a more boutique approach in terms of the products that are being given or sold to the guests, it's an opportunity to establish a much different feel, and thus I think it really does fit in with Wade's notion that it is an anti-mall. Because of course in a traditional mall, you go from one country to the next and you see the same types of stores. You see the Banana Republic, you see the Gap, you see H&M and so forth. And in this case, none of the stores that I saw here or restaurants were anything like anything I've seen anywhere else, and I think that's also the point, as I mentioned, at places like Bikini Berlin, Container Mall, and many of these other places that probably also could be considered both anti-malls and to some extent lifestyle malls combined with this interesting architectural approach, which seems to be, in a lot of these cases, focused on boxes or containers as something innovative that is offered to the guest who visits the space. So that's all I have to say today, so I'll give you one more out video here at Boxpark. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the video feature today. You're looking at Boxpark in London, one of many emerging examples of innovative shopping malls around the world that don't necessarily follow some of the same forms of shopping malls of the past. So please come back for additional video features of the Immersive World's Handbook.